Right, here we are. We're about to replace a couple of cables in a standard surf ski. Not a Molokai or anything like that, just a standard club surf ski. What you require is a crimper to close your crimps off with. You require a cable cutter, and you really need that. And pliers are very, very hard to cut cable with. You need the cable, of course, you need the crimps, and you need some heat shrink, which if up near your feet, you just put a bit of heat shrink over the top of the crimp and the end of the cable, and then put a heat gun on it, which is there, and that shrinks down and covers it. That's all you need, and that should be enough. First thing you have to do is remove the busted cables. Obviously that you don't know sometimes where they're broken. They can break internally, or they usually break at the pedal up here, but not always. This cable hasn't broken, but that one has, obviously. So it's worth replacing both of them while you're at it, because if one's gone, usually the other one will go not long after. So the first thing you have to do is get your wire cutters and remove the old cables. A bit of luck there. There's no need to put heat shrink on this end of the cable whatsoever. The only reason you put the heat shrink on is to protect your feet, etc., when you've got your feet up on the pedals. Crimps right up there. Right. Pull the old cables out. Right, next we feed the new cable in. You can buy the cables, crimps, etc. at a yacht shop. And the easiest way to do it properly is to cut an old bit of cable. One of the cables you're replacing, just cut a piece off so that you get the right one when you take it with you to the yacht shop. You'll need to buy the right length of cable, which is not hard to work out, and buy a few extra crimps. Feed the new cable in, and 95 times out of 100 it comes out the other end. But occasionally, whoever made the ski might have done something a little bit tricky with the outer cable inside the ski. If that happens, you've got problems. Oh, here we go. Right. Make sure you bring enough out so that it's going to make the distance, and leave a little bit extra. Then all we have to do is feed the other side. Make sure we cut this the right, so we've got enough on either side. Okay, so we've got plenty of cable. Always make sure you buy a little bit too much cable, so there's nothing worse if you haven't got enough. Remove the old one that we cut off before. Much easier when you can see them. Right, now we need to crimp this off at this end. Always crimp this end off last, because it's easier to work up here than try and work down in the well down here. We'll just feed the other bit of cable through first, and then we're ready to go with the crimping. With the wire cutters, if the end of the cable's frayed like that is, you can't feed it through the crimps or the cable or the outer cable. So just cut it off carefully and make sure you've got a good clean end to work with. Right, we'll feed this one through. Right, now to put the rear cables, fit the rear cables, it's probably a lot easier to take the fitting out. You can do it while it's in the boat, but you'll find it a lot easier if you take it out of the boat and ease the fitting off. They can be quite tight, these fittings, but just remember the way you've taken it off so you put it back the right way. Then just feed the cable through, back through the crimp, and tighten it right up. You can leave a little bit of excess cable out if you want to. That should be adequate. Then you just need to get the crimper and crimp it off. You usually need 2 bites at it. The actual machine's not wide enough to do it all in one go. You'll find that the rudder stem has got a flat face. Make sure your rudder's pointing the right way and you've got the boat the right way, so that it's all going to go back the correct way. Right, we'll just do the other side at the rear. Put your crimp on first. Feed through the fitting. Bring it back through into the crimp. Lay it into the guide. Then fit it through there. You can have a little bit of excess cable, as I said before, overlap, sticking out. Then that should be adequate. And pull it up as tight as you can, up to the fitting. So we need to fit the crimper on. Just grip it with the crimper and pull it up tight. And just crimp it off. Right, you've now done the back. You've got a bit too much wire out there, you can just cut it off. Like so. Put the fitting back on the rudder. You don't need heat shrink on the rear, there's no point. Put the nut back on. Now all we have to do is do the pedals. The front is reasonably similar to the rear, except there's 2 differences. One, we put some heat shrink on, along with the crimp. So that we can put the heat shrink over the crimp when we've finished, and it makes a much neater job. Apart from that, if there's any little frayed bits of wire, it's not going to annoy your foot. So you put your heat shrink on, your crimp on, feed it through the pedal and the guide, come back through your crimp, back through your guide properly. But you don't crimp these off until you get your pedals and your rudder all lined up correctly. So you get them about right, and then you fine tune them. Right, some heat shrink, your crimp, and similarly through the pedal. Then through the guide, back through the crimp, and line it up through the guide. Right, now check that your rudder's straight, in line with the ski. You straighten your rudder, then get your pedals correct. Now the pedal basically doesn't have to be perfectly in line with the foot, the heel well of the ski, but that's the normal procedure there. So then pull the two of them off tight. Make sure the pedal is in the correct position. Because once you crimp them off, there's no going back unless you've got more cable and more crimps. So pull them so that they're reasonably firm and reasonably in line. The other thing you have to do is make sure the pedals are lined up with each other and in line with the heel of the ski. Check the rudder one more time. Rudder looks straight. So now crimp one of these off. Put it back in the guide. It's a bit messy. As I said, if there's two of you, it's a piece of cake. They're pretty level and they're about right with the ski. So right now here we are with the second pedal. We've got the crimper on. We've got the crimp on and the crimping tool on. All we have to do is close it off. And do another crimp. Do the second crimp on this one now. Are we right?
Yep.
No, he's still not in that bottom one. There he is now.
Yep. Yep. Yeah, we got it there.
We got him?
Yep.
Are you recording?
Yep.
Right, it's always easier if there's two of you when you're doing this. Right, let's see what we've got. They look about right. As long as that rudder's straight, we're in business. So cut your cable off now. Try and get as close as you can to the crimp. Now just feed your heat shrink over the crimper, over the crimp, like so. Beautiful. And this one, heat shrink on. Now for the final part of the job is just to get a heat gun and get the heat shrink to shrink. Be careful you don't put too much heat on everything else. You just apply the heat. That looks neat enough, I think. So there's the end result.